Okay, so we start the thing that is called, you know, storage class. So the thing is that storage class are actually used to describe about the features of a variable. Storage class actually used to describe about, the features of a variable. That is nothing but features of a, you know variable or functions, whatever be the thing, that will actually describe about the features of a variable, you know functions, whatever. And these features basically include these particular features. These features basically, you know include the scope, the visibility, and lifetime. Visibility and lifetime, which help us to, stress the existence of a particular variable during the runtime of a program. That means the basically the three things: one is the scope, one is the visibility, and one is the lifetime. So there are four type of storage class that are present in C. The first one is, you can say, automatic. The first one is automatic, or you can say, shortly you can say about, auto. The second one, you know is called about static. The third one you can think about, that is, you know extern, or it would be better, the third one is register. And the fourth one, that is external. That is nothing but external. That there are these four type of storage classes are present. And what are the storage classes, that we will discuss, that what is the meaning of them. That means whenever you just like that, I am writing integer a. Actually this a variable, if we not write anything, that means actually it is under automatic. And what does mean? That means when this variable, if I am asking you the questions, okay, you are writing integer a, then if you want to print the value of a, then what should be the value of a? Where? Because memory is a big thing. In which portions of the memory actually a stores? What should be the, how much time the a will active throughout your program or within your functions? So that type of questions can be answered if you study this automatic, static, register, external storage class. That means in many time when you are doing main program, I am not writing anything till yet this particular class. The thing is that if I am not writing anything, that means we are actually under the automatic storage class. So here you can say I am breaking into four parts. The first part is storage class, and storage is nothing but, you can say, that is under RAM. That is the storage part. And what do you mean by default? The thing is the default initial value. That means if we want to print the value of a, then the default initial value, that is an unpredictable value. This is, unpredictable value, and that is known as garbage value. That is nothing but a garbage value. What do you mean by garbage value? Because we know that when you write integer a, that means in somewhere in memory, in RAM, actually this a will be allocated. That means that particular memory will be allocated, and in that particular case what should be the initial value? That means we are declaring integer a, and now you want to print what should be the value within a. That may print garbage value. That means if you run the program in sometimes it will give a some other value, when you run program in some other time it will give another value, and that is unpredictable value. That's why this is the default initial value, and default initial value is the garbage value. What should be the scope? What should be the scope? Scope is nothing but local to the scope. That is nothing but local to the scope. Local to the block, it will be better to say that local to the block in which the variable is defined, in which the variable is defined. That is the scope. And the thing is that the last thing, that is life, that is lifetime, and that is nothing but till the control, till the control remains within, till the controls remains within the block in which the variable is defined, in which the variable is defined. So what does it mean? If we take an example, then I think it will be understandable to you what the mean of scope and life. Say we are writing a simple program, integer, say main. We are writing, say, auto int I is equals to 1, and this is printf, say %d. We are printing the value of I. After bracket completions, we are again give the printing as I, and after completions of this we are again printing the value of I. And you see that since that will be declared globally, that means integer I equals to 3, so it will print 1. The same one will be printed there, same one will be printed there. That means if we say the output is nothing but 1 1 1, 3 ones. Now say I just change a little bit in the program. That means the same program, say I am writing in this way, say integer, this is main. We are writing auto int I is equals to 1. In that case we are writing auto int. If I am not writing anything, that is also under the auto category. And
স্যার
বলো,
শুধু ইন্ট না লিখে অটো ইন্ট লিখছি কেন?
আমি জাস্ট অটোর কাজটা বোঝাচ্ছি, ঠিক আছে? আমি কিছু না লিখলে সেটাও অটো, ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু অটোর কাজটা আমি বোঝাচ্ছি যে অটো অ্যাকচুয়ালি মানে আমি ওই যে লোকাল টু দা ব্লক এবং গ্লোবাল টু দা ব্লক হোয়াট এভার বি দা থিং, তার মানেটা কি সেটা বোঝাচ্ছি। ধরো আমি আই প্রিন্ট করলাম, the thing is that again I am printing %d I, and after that again we are printing, say this is also %d I. Now the thing is that what I am saying, that in that particular case what I am saying that is local to the block, the scope is local to the block in which the variable is defined. তুমি এখানে দেখো, তুমি i এর ভ্যালু 1 ডিক্লেয়ার করেছো প্রথমে, ওকে, তারপরে ভেতরে কি i এর ভ্যালু তুমি 2 ডিক্লেয়ার করেছো, তারপরে কি i এর ভ্যালু তুমি 3 ডিক্লেয়ার করেছো। তাহলে কোনটা প্রিন্ট করবে, 1 না 2 না 3? দ্যাট উইল প্রিন্ট 3, কারণ এই যখন অটোটা করেছে এই অটোটার ভ্যালিডিটি হচ্ছে লোকাল টু দা ব্লক, তার মানে এইটুকুর মধ্যে অটোটা প্রথমে কাজ করবে এবং তারপরে প্রিন্ট করলো 3। এবারে যে এখান থেকে বেরিয়ে গেল ও কিন্তু আর এস স্কোপে নেই, ও কি করলো এস স্কোপের মধ্যে ঢুকে গেল, এস স্কোপের মধ্যে যে ভ্যালুটা আছে সেই ভ্যালুটা, এবং দ্যাট ইজ নাথিং বাট 2, দ্যাট উইল প্রিন্ট 2। এটা প্রিন্ট হয়ে যাওয়ার পর ও কি করলো এই স্কোপে চলে এলো এবং ইট উইল প্রিন্ট 1। তার মানে ও স্কোপের বাইরে প্রিন্ট করে না, তার মানে কম্পাইলার treat করছে totally different variables, and they are defined in different blocks. Actually, what I am trying to say here, that means what I am saying, that when we declare nothing, that is declared as an auto, and that storage is in RAM, the default initial value, that is a garbage value. And what is the scope? Scope is nothing but local to the scope. Here in the first case, this is because we know all printf statement occur within the outermost block. This all printf statement that will occur within the outermost block. Actually, a block of statement that is enclosed within a pair of braces, that is a block you can treat as a. So I has been defined. So it means that the scope of the I is local to the block in which it is defined, and the moment controls comes out of the block in which the variable is defined, the variable and its value is relatively lost. That means এই স্কোপের বাইরে গেলে কিন্তু এই I এর ভ্যালুটা থাকছে না। এটা যেহেতু গ্লোবালি ডিক্লেয়ার করেছি তাই জন্য আমি পাচ্ছি। সেকেন্ড কেসে তাই জন্য তুমি দেখো এই ব্লকের ভেতরে I এর ভ্যালু 3 প্রিন্ট করছে, যখনই আমি এই ব্লকের বাইরে বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছি এই ব্লকে কিন্তু I এর ভ্যালু আর 3 ধরে রাখছে না, ওই ব্লকে যে ভ্যালুটা 2 সেই ভ্যালুটাই ও প্রিন্ট করছে। That is the thing, that means ও শুধুমাত্র লোকাল টু দ্য ব্লকেই কাজ করে। এইটুকু জানলেই হবে, আর কিছু জানার দরকার নেই। Now the thing is that the second thing, that is called static. In case of static, we are dealing with the same thing, that static variable have the property of preserving their value even after they are out of their scope. That means the main thing about static, and in different questions they will actually use this static variable, because static variable the static variable have a property property of preserving their value, their value even after they are out of the block, they are out of their scope, they are out of their scope. So that is the one of the important thing that you need to understand, that in static variable that have a property of preserving their value even after they are out of their scope. So in that particular case, the storage is also in RAM. You can say the initial value, default initial value, that means if we write a variable like that, if we write a variable static int a, now we want to print what should be the value of a, that is nothing but default, this is initial value, and the default initial value is 0. Here you just remember default initial value is 0. The scope, and of course that is local to the block in which the variable is defined, that is the scope. And the last thing, that is life, and that is between that value of variable that persists between different functions call, between different function calls, and the thing is that, say I am writing the program to understand the static. I think you will understand the thing. The thing is that, okay, so you just a minute, something is happening, so I'm just coming, just a minute. Okay, so the thing is that in that particular case, the life is nothing but the value of variable that persists between different functions called. Now if we take some examples, say the examples is taken like that. I am taking main function, I am not writing all this, and we are calling, this is the, we are calling the function, say this is the function name is increment, and you know you are calling 3 times, and you know this is the increment functions. What I am writing, you just notice it clearly, that this is auto int I is equals to 1. We are using this printf, this is a %d, this is I equals to I plus 1. This is the thing. So in that particular case, we are declaring auto integer I equals to 1. We are printing 1. So of course, the first one will be printed. That will be started from main. When the main function, there is increment is called, increment is going to there. When you call this, you are calling this increment functions. It will print this. It will increment the value I equals to 2, and after completion of this, again it will back to this increment function, and again this increment function is being called. And when this increment function is being called, actually your program
স্যার এই
will,
জায়গাটা আবার বলবেন?
হ্যাঁ এখানে আমি বলছি, ধরো ইনক্রিমেন্ট ফাংশনসটা আছে, আমার তো মেইন ফাংশন থেকে ইনক্রিমেন্ট ফাংশন এলাম, এবার ইনক্রিমেন্ট ফাংশনসটাকে যেই কল
না
করলাম,
স্যার একটু,
হ্যাঁ
স্যার
বলো,
একটু ফাস্ট থেকে, মানে এইটার একটু ফাস্ট থেকে বলবেন, লাইনটা কেটে গেছিল।
এই স্ট্যাটিকের,
হ্যাঁ 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 স্ট্যাটিকটা।
হ্যাঁ স্ট্যাটিকের ক্ষেত্রে যেটা বলেছি, যে আমরা এমন একটা, স্ট্যাটিক হচ্ছে এমন একটা ভেরিয়েবল যেটা আমরা ইউজ করি কিসের জন্য, প্রিজার্ভ করে ভ্যালুগুলোকে ডিফারেন্ট ফাংশন করে। তার মানে আমি যখন একটা ফাংশনসকে কল করি তখন সাধারণত সেটা লোকাল টু দ্য স্কোপ হয়, মানে লোকালি যে যে ভেরিয়েবলগুলো ডিক্লেয়ার করেছি তার ভ্যালুগুলোকে ধরে রাখতে পারে, বা গ্লোবালি ধরে রাখতে, মানে সবসময় এটাকে স্টোর করতে পারে না। সো এই কারণে আমরা স্ট্যাটিকটা ইউজ করি। স্ট্যাটিকের ক্ষেত্রে কি বলছি, দ্য স্টোরেজ লোকেশন ইজ র্যাম। that means when we declare say static integer a, if we write like that, static integer a, that particular, you know, that particular thing will be stored in RAM, the default initial value. That means I am writing static integer a, and now I want to print a value of a, then that should be 0. Whether in case of auto, the initial value is nothing but a garbage value, whereas in case of static, you know, the value is nothing but, you know, 0. And what is the scope? The scope is nothing but local to the block, that is local to the block, and that means in which the variable is defined. And the thing is, the life is, that means the value of variable that is persist between different functions called. And I am taking this example. If you see the example, we are writing 3 functions, same functions, we are calling 3 functions, increment, 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 and within the functions we are just doing, we are declaring int auto int I equals to 1, and we are printing just %d I. That means we are just printing the value of I, and again I value will be incremented and becomes I equals to I plus 1. So what will happen, the program will start it from main, it will call the increment function, it will jump to the increment function. Here the value of I is equals to 1, it will print the value of I equals to 1, then it will increment the value of I is equals to I plus 1. That means it will make, after printing 1, it will make the value of I, but when again it will remove from the, that means it will back to the function, the auto value, that means the variable I will forget his value, মানে ও ভেরিয়েবল আইটা যেই ফাংশন থেকে বেরিয়ে গেল, ও যে ইনক্রিমেন্ট করেছিল সেটা কিন্তু ও ভুলে গেল। তার মানে যখন আবার নেক্সট টাইম ইনক্রিমেন্ট ফাংশনসটা কল হবে, ও আবার 1 থেকে স্টার্ট করে 1ই প্রিন্ট করবে, এবং ও আবার কি করবে, 2 এর ভ্যালুটা বাড়াবে, কিন্তু যেই লোকাল টু দ্য স্কোপ, তার মানে এখান থেকে যেই বেরিয়ে যাবে আবার ফাংশনস কল হলো, ও কিন্তু ভ্যালুটাকে পারসিস্ট করছে না, মানে ভ্যালুটাকে ধরে রাখতে পারছে না, ও ভ্যালুটা ভুলে যাচ্ছে। তার জন্য ও আবার কি করবে, থার্ড টাইমও i1 ই প্রিন্ট করবে। বাট যদি আমি এই জিনিসটাকে স্ট্যাটিক দিয়ে রিপ্লেস করি, দ্যাট মিনস ইন কেস অফ অটো the whole program are same, we are just change this to static, then what will happen? Initial case it will print, you know, from main it will start, it will call the increment functions, it will go to the increment, it will make I equals to 1, we are declaring the variable I as a static, it will print the value of I, that is nothing but 1, and it will increment the value of I, that is I equals to I plus 1, that means 2, and then again it backs to the function. When we are using static, that means the variable I will hold the value, that means আমরা static অটো যখন ইউজ করেছিলাম তখন আমি কি দেখেছিলাম, আমি ফাংশনস থেকে বেরিয়ে গেলে এই ভ্যালুটাকে ভুলে যাচ্ছিলাম, বাট এখানে কিন্তু আমি ফাংশনস থেকে বেরিয়ে গেলেও ভ্যালুটাকে ভুলবো না, আমি কি করব 2 টাকে ধরে রাখবো এবং যখন এখানে আবার ফাংশনস কল হয়ে আবার যখন ব্যাক করে আসবে I will print the value 2, and again this 2 will be incremented to 3, I am holding the value and it will print 3. So that is the difference between auto and static, and that's why what I am saying, that the variable persists, that means the value of variable persists between different functions call. That means if we are calling the same functions or calling the different functions, whatever be the thing, variable the value ta se different functions call se ধরে রাখতে পারে, that is the behavior of a static. So I think it is clear now that what is the basic the now the thing is that the third variable that is called register. Actually if we you know, it is the processor, say this is the processor, and you know that processor has some internal memory, processor itself some internal memory, but that is a very limited amount of space, and within the processor or just outside the processor there is a technique that is a cache memory, and then this is a memory hierarchy, then there is a RAM, and then there is a secondary memory or hard disk, that is the thing. And if you observe carefully, that means that memory is very faster, the memory within the processor, that is the fastest memory, and this is the costliest memory, because within the processor you know what will happen within the processor, you know there is a very little amount of space, but if we can store any variable within this memory, that will be, you know, access faster because that is very near to the processor, then cache, then RAM, and then hard disk. If you see that what is the price of hard disk, you know, 1 TB price of hard disk is near about 4,000 or 5,000 whatever be the, whereas if we consider 1 GB RAM, say this amount is 1000, if we say 256 MB is cache, that is near about 1000, and the processor memory is inbuilt memory, you cannot buy actually. So that means you just see that the number of the cost per bit, because we have to calculate cost per bit, that is a 1 TB, that is 4,000, but 1 GB RAM is 1000. That means when we are moving with hard disk to internal processor memory, you know the price per bit will be increasing, and as well as speed is also increasing, that means speed is also increasing. So the concept is that now a variable like a within the for loop you are applying I plus plus, that means I plus plus, that particular variable will be incremented frequently, and we know that in our program there are several variables are there which variables are incremented frequently, and now the concept is if we can store this particular variable which is used frequently we can store it in the processor memory, of course our program executions will be faster, our program will be execution will be faster. So the thing is that in that particular case the storage class declares register variable which have the, you know, the same functionality as the auto variable. The only difference is that the compiler tries to store this variable in the register of the microprocessor if a few register is available, but the thing is if there is an availability then it can be possible. Of course this makes the use of register variable to much faster. than the variable stored in the memory during the runtime of the program. If a free register is not available, these are then stored in the memory only. Of course, that means that will be stored in the RAM. But when we are declaring register, the compiler actually tries to assign first into the register. If the register is available, if the register is not available, then it tries to it do the operations like auto. So that is the thing. That means we can write like that, register integer a. If we write like that, first they want to store the variable a in CPU register. If it is available, if it's not available, then it will store normally as auto. So here the storage location is nothing but that is CPU register, that is nothing but CPU register, and all are same as auto. That means the default value, that is nothing but garbage value. The default value is the garbage value. And if you consider about the scope, that is local to the local to the scope in which variable is assigned. And the thing is that in that particular case, if we variable is assigned, that is the scope, and that is the life, and life is same as auto. That means till till the control remains till the controls remains within the block in which the variable is defined, is defined. So you can say that is the function of register. And there are also if you use an ampersand operator with a register variable, then the compiler may give an error or warning. That is depend upon the compiler that is there, because we say a variable is in register, so it may be stored in a register instead of memory, and accessing address of a register is invalid. What I am saying, that like that you may say mm, that means accessing register is invalid. That's why if you use, if just remember, if you use this ampersand operator with a register, ampersand operator with a register, then compiler may give an error or warning. Compiler may give an error or warning, may give an error or warning, because the reason is simple, because if may be possible that what variable you declare, that will be stored in register, and the accessing the content of the register is prohibited, because that is very precise locations within the processor. So that accessing this particular location is prohibited. So if your compiler store the variable in register, that the compiler will not access the content of the registers. And that is the that is the simple thing, and I'm not going details about that. And the thing is, the next thing, the last part, that is called external. And this is nothing but external variable. That means this is nothing but, you can say, the external variable. And this particular external storage class, we are writing external this storage class, simply tells us that the variable is defined elsewhere and not within the same block where it is used. That means external means external. What is the meaning of that? That means external storage class actually simply tells us that the variable is defined elsewhere, and not within the same block, not within the slim block where it is used, where it is used. Basically, the variable, the value that is assigned to it in a different block, and this can be overwritten or changed in a different block as well. So extern variable is nothing but a global variable initialized with a legal value where it is declared in order to be elsewhere. What I am saying, that it is nothing but a global variable. It is nothing but a global variable. What I am saying, it can be clear by if I taking an example that is not hard. And first we are writing that the storage locations, if we consider about the storage, that is of course lamp, and the default initial value, default initial value, that is same as static, that means 0. And what is the scope? Scope is global, that means it's globally valid. And life is nothing but as long as the program execution does not come to an end, as long as the programs execution that does not come to it, does not come to an end. That is the thing you can tell about the life. So actually what extern do, actually I am just writing a simple code. Say I am writing this integer main, and say I am printing this %d, say out, and return 0, and then I am writing integer out equals to 100. So if we write this particular code, it will give you compilation error, because they will say undeclared symbol out in main functions, because you are printing the variable value out, but out is not declared anywhere, that will be declared later. So in that particular case, it will give you the compiler error, because that will give you that undeclared symbol out in function main, and the thing is that the rule is that a variable is available for use from the point of declarations. Even though out is a global variable, it is not available for main, because this is a global variable you are writing after main. But the thing is that though it is a global variable, since the variable is not available at that point, it will give a compilation error. But now if we write like that, that means we are writing the program, same program like that, integer main, I am writing like that extern out, I am writing extern out, and if we printf %d out, this is a return 0, and after that you write integer out is equals to 100. In that case it will give you print as 100, because you are you are given extern out, that means you are declaring this out variable is an extern, that means it can be written in another section. So your compiler will search for that, that means somewhere you are written extern, so that's why you are writing maybe outside the block. So it will find the value of out, and then it will print the out value is 100. So that is the functions of extern, nothing but that is the simple function of extern. বলো
স্যার বলছি যে এই আউটটা যদি আমরা মডিফাই করি মেন ফাংশনের ভেতরে, মানে আউট প্লাস প্লাস বা আউট মাইনাস মাইনাস, তাহলে কি স্যার ওই 100 থেকেই ওটা করবে নাকি
100টা নেবে তারপর কাজ করা শুরু করবে?
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, মানে এক্সটার্ন আউট দেখলে এটাকে বাইরে চলে যাবে
একদম খুঁজবে, মানে তোমার ওটা দিয়ে বোঝানো হচ্ছে যে ভাই তুমি একদমই এররটা দিও না, কোথাও না কোথাও কোনো একটা ফাইলে নিশ্চয়ই ওই ভ্যালুটা লেখা আছে, আমরা খুঁজে পেলে ওই জিনিসটাকে বের করে প্রোগ্রামটা করবে, এটাই তার মানেটা, আর কিছু না। ঠিক আছে,
আচ্ছা, মানে কন্ট্রোলটা বাইরে চলে যায় এক্সটার্ন দেখলেই
বুঝতে পারে যে আমার এই ব্যাপারটা আমায় করতে হবে। ঠিক আছে, মানে গ্লোবাল ভেরিয়েবলের মতো, মানে এটা হতে পারে যারা একটা ভেরিয়েবল দ্যাট ক্যান বি রিটেন ইন অ্যানাদার ফাইল, ধরো আরেকটা ফাইলে লিখেছি, তাই তো? ধরো একটা ফাইল নিয়ে তুমি কাজ করেছো, এবার সেই ভেরিয়েবলকে আমি অ্যাক্সেস করব কি করে? সেই ভেরিয়েবলকে অ্যাক্সেস করার জন্য আমি এক্সট্রান যদি লিখে দিই তাহলে কি হবে, আমি অন্য জায়গা থেকেও সেই ভেরিয়েবলস গুলোকে কিছুটা অ্যাক্সেস করতে পারবো। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য থিং, মানে এক্সট্রানের লেখার পেছনে কারণ হচ্ছে এই জিনিসটা। Yes. Now the thing is that let's solve one problem by using static. I think that will be beneficial for you, that what actually we are trying to say. Just a minute. I have to search for a program that will actually by which I can see you that what is the, you know, how the static will work like that. Say the question comes in, it may be that the question is the, you know, the value of j, the value of j, say at the end of the execution, the value of j at the end of the execution of the, you know, following C program, and it is given like that: integer incr, integer I, that is static, integer count is equals to 0, count is equals to count plus I, you know, that will return count, and you know that is the main program where integer ij for I equals to 0, I less than equals to 4, I plus plus, j is equals to incr I, that means we are calling the function. So that is the question, that what should be the value of j at the end of the executions of the following C program. বলো দেখি। বলো। সমৃত, অরিত্র, বলো দেখি। সৃজা বলতে পারবে? হুম,
10 হবে।
10 হবে তাই বলছো? আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, answer should be 10, that should be the value of j is equals to 10, and what is the reason of that? Just see, this is
কাউন্টটা স্টোর থাকবে।
yes, counter store থাকবে, তার মানে when
কাউন্টের ভ্যালুটা চেঞ্জ হয়, মানে 4 বার চলবে ওটা। তো প্রথমে তো আয়ের ভ্যালু 0 পাস হবে,
I value
0 পাস হবে, আর কাউন্ট 0,
yes,
তো 0 প্লাস 0-এর জন্য চলবে, প্রথমত কিছু হবে না। তো তারপরে যখন 1 পাস হবে আয়ের ভ্যালুটা, তখন কাউন্টে 1 স্টোর হয়ে থাকবে এবং কাউন্টে ওই ভ্যালুটা ওটাই আসবে। তারপর আবার যখন যাবে, তখন 1+2 3টা কাউন্টে স্টোর হয়ে থাকবে, ঠিক আছে। তারপর যখন মানে নেক্সট ভ্যালু অর্থাৎ 2 যাবে আয়ের ভ্যালু, তখন স্যার 3+2 5 হবে।
okay,
তো
so
তারপর স্যার যখন 3 যাবে, তখন 5+3 হবে, 8টা স্টোর হয়ে থাকবে। তারপরে যখন স্যার 4ও যাবে, ও স্যার 12 হবে, মানে 4ও যদি যায় তখন 8+4 12 হবে।
okay, so the thing is that what he told actually, first when I value is 0, we are writing incr, that is 0, that means we are calling the functions, so that means it goes to there, the value of I is 0 because this value is 0. So you know, since the value of I is 0, count is 0, and you know count equals to count plus 0, that means that is also 0. You are returning the value of count. That means initially when I is equals to 0, the value of j is also 0. Now the thing is that when the value of, you know, I, that means it will increment it to 1, that means again we are calling the functions, this value is 1, you know, so that means count equals to 0, count equals to count plus I, that means 0 plus 1 is equals to 1. You are returning the value of count 1, that means the value of j is also 1. Now when the value of I is now 2, then what will happen, that will 2 will be go there, and previously the count value will be 1. So now you can think that is nothing but initially that is 1, 1 plus 2 is equals to 3. We are returning the value 3. So when I equals to 2, j is equals to 3. Now when I equals to 3, that will again call this is 3, and this is nothing but 3 plus 3, that means 6, and when I equals to 3, j equals to 6. Now when I equals to 4, it will, you know, go to there, it will go to there, and it will call this with the value 4, and then this 6 plus 4, that means 10, and that is nothing but 10. So when I equals to 4, j equals to 10, and then the for loop will not conditions because the value of I is 5, and this condition is fails, and the program terminates, and the value of j is nothing but 10. So that's why the static, because when we are use this static variable, that means the value will be persist between different functions call, that you should remember. And there are lots of programs that will come with the help of static, then you should careful about that. And the simple thing that that value will be persist between different functions call, that is the main thing that you need to know, that the thing. So the thing is that okay, that's well and good. Now one thing that I want to you know, recall, that when we should know that, you know, a program is good, when we should know that a program is good, and that should be known by using the concept that is called either time complexity or place complexity. That thing I have to introduce, because we know that basically when we write say I equals to 1, say I less than n, and I plus plus, you know that your program will run n times, and if your program will run n times, I am saying that the complexity is order of n, that I am saying that complexity is order of n. And now if we write say for I equals to 1, I less than n, and I plus plus, when you are doing a two-dimensional array, what I am writing, j equals to 1, j less than n, and j plus plus, that means when I equals to 1, j will run n times. Again when I equals to, you know, I equals to 2, j is again run n times. That means if we write like that, the total time actually it is executed, that is nothing but n square time, worst case. So we can say the complexity can be written as order of n square. That means the same program, if we can write by using this, that program performance will be better compared to if the same program is written by using this type of for loop. So the thing is that so in that particular case, so that is the important thing that you should remember, that it may be possible the same program can be written in different ways. The same program can be written in different ways. But the thing is, which way is better, that should be understandable by using the complexity that is called, that is called time complexity. That is one of the measurement you can think of that. So now we will see some problems where we want to compute the time complexity of a simple program. That means if a program is given, that means you are writing for loop, but depending on the pattern of for loop or while loop, your program performance will changes like that. How? Say we are taking an example, say this is a simple pseudocode, say I equals to 1, say s is equals to 1, and I am writing while s is less than is equals to n. You observe carefully. If it is not understandable, then tell me. S equals to s plus I say, and I am just printf. I am writing in short form. I am just printing my name. So the thing is that is the simplest thing, and what I am thinking that initially your while loop will run when s is less than is equals to n. That is the terminating conditions. So what we can find from that, that means initially say the value of s is equals to 1, and of course I is equals to 1, the value of s is equals to 1 and I is equals to 1, because that initially that is given, and then what will happen, I will be incremented. That means I is now 2 and s is equals to s plus I. S is 1 plus 2, that means the value of s is now 3, and again the value of I will be incremented, that is 3, and the value of s is nothing but previous step, the value of s is 3, that is 3 plus 3, that is nothing but 6. Again if the value of I is incremented, I equals to 4, then the value of x is 6 plus 4, that is nothing but 10, and it goes on like that. So let this particular while loop that going to stop after kth iteration, that going to stop after kth iteration. So you just follow the condition. If s is less than equals to n and the value of s is 1, then 3, then 6, that means you are not compare all values, you are only comparing this type of values. That means s, if we follow the pattern of s is nothing but sum of natural number, sum of natural numbers. So at kth step, if we consider as kth step, that is nothing but k into k plus 1 by 2, that is greater than equals to n. We can write that because that is the value of s at k step, and your conditions that is less than, so we can say like that, and we know that is nothing but k square plus k by 2, that is less than a, and from that we can say the value of k is nothing but we can write order of root n, because this is a k square, we are always taking the largest thing, that means k square is less than n, and so k is less than root n. So that means your code, that particular code will run and that value is order of root n. Of course that is the achievements. That means by seeing the code, you should know that which one is better written. And how can you know which one is better written by analyzing the corresponding complexity. That is nothing but time complexity, I can say. And that is nothing but in that moment, that is a basic idea. I am not giving details, because when we are dealing with algorithm, data structure, whatever subject, the time complexity will come in details. But at least in C, you should know the basic idea. Otherwise, you have to know that which will performing better. That is the main thing. Say we are taking next example. So I think it is clear, or some questions you can ask me. If not, then I am just giving you some of the examples such that it will be clearly understandable. Say I am writing this particular code. Say I is equals to 1, and this is a for I is equals to 1. This is I square, that is less than equals to n. This is nothing but I plus plus, and I am just printf. This is, my name is printing here. So this is the corresponding code. Now, here also we are comparing I square, and I square is less than equals to n. What does it mean? That means we are not comparing all the value, we are not checking. The loop will execute, I square is less than n. That means from that we will directly say that loop will, execute up to when I is less than equals to root n. That means printf will execute root n time. That means you can say printf will, execute this root n time. And of course this is less than, that means we can say that is nothing but order of root n. That you can say. Now if we say another example, say a is this, we are writing integer I, j, say k, n. This is for loop. I equals to 1, say I less than equals to n, I plus plus. Within this I am writing for j is equals to 1, say j less than equals to I, and say j plus plus, and say for this is k equals to 1, k is less than equals to 100, say k plus plus, and I am just printing my name. Say this is, I am just printing my name like that. So in that case, what should be the complexity? What do you think? সমৃদ্ধ কি
100 n
মনে
স্কোয়ার।
n স্কয়ার কি করে?
কারণ স্যার দুটো লুপ চলছে, একটা আই লুপটাও এন পর্যন্ত চলছে, যে লুপটাও আই পর্যন্ত মানে এন পর্যন্তই চলবে।
আর কে লুপটাও তো চলছে।
স্যার কে লুপের জন্য তো কে লুপটা তো 100 টাইমস চলছে, তো 100 n স্কোয়ার হবে।
100 n square. Okay. So in that particular thing, what he said that if I equals to 1, you just observe from this. If I equals to 1, j will run up to j is less than equals to I. That means j also run 1 times, and for that k will run, 100 times. K will run 100 times. Similarly, when I value is equals to 2, j will run, 2 times. So k will run 2 into 100 times, 2 into 100 times. When I is equals to 3, j is also run 3 times. So k is running, so that means the how much time the k will run, that means how much time the printf statement will execute. First is 100, then 2 multiplied by 100, then 3 multiplied by 100, and dot dot dot. And if we take 100 as a common, it is 1 plus 2 plus 3 dot dot dot, and this is nothing but, you can say, n into n plus 1. This is by 2, and that is nothing but the maximum is order of n square. That is nothing but order of n square. That you can think of that. Now we can take another example, say whether you can say the complexity or not. Say I'm writing the program like that. Say integer, this is I, j, this is k, n. Say for I equals to 1, I less than equals to n, this is I plus plus, this is for j is equals to 1, j is less than I square, this is j plus plus, and for k is equals to 1, k is less than equals to n by 2, this is k plus plus, and we are using this printf statement. So the thing is that, so what should be the complexity of this? বল এটার কমপ্লেক্সিটি কত হবে?
n কিউব।
এর হচ্ছে n কিউব। ওকে, হাউ?
কারণ প্রথমে যখন লুপটা চলছে ওটা তো n পর্যন্ত চলছে, তো তারপরে i স্কয়ার পর্যন্ত যে লুপটা চলছে, তো যদি n এর ভ্যালু 2 হয় তাহলে i স্কয়ার মানে ওটা 2 স্কয়ার মানে 4 বার চলবে। আর তারপরে পরের লুপটা n বাই 2 মানে একবারই চলবে, মানে n বাই 2 টাইমস চলবে। তো তিনটেকে যদি করি, মানে কি বলবো, তিনখানা নেক্সটেড লুপও চলছে, তো সেই হিসাবে মনে হচ্ছে n কিউবই আসবে হয়তো।
Okay, so the thing is, let's evaluate. See, if I is equals to 1, so j equals also, because I equals to 1, j is running up to I square. I square means 1, so j is also run 1 times, so k will runs up to n by 2, and depending on j, so n by 2 multiplied by 1 times, that is the k is running. Now in the second case, when the value of I is equals to 2, the value of j will run 4 times. You will see that will run 4 times because j will run up to I square. So the k will run n by 2 multiplied by 4 times, that is the k will run. Say when I is equals to 3, j will run 9 times, so k will be runs n by 2 multiplied by 9 times, and it goes on like that. So the thing is that if we define the total time that is executed by k, that is nothing but n by 2 multiplied by 1, say n by 2 multiplied by 4, say n by 2 multiplied by 9, and it goes on like that. So if we take n by 2, that is nothing but 1 plus 4 plus 9 dot dot dot, and this is nothing but 1 plus 2 square plus 3 square. And what is the formula of 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square? That is nothing but n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. So there are 1 2 3 4 n that is multiplied, so the complexity is order of n to the power 4. Okay, so in that particular case, the complexity is order of n to the power 4, that you need to know. Now say we will take another example. Say the example is like that. Say we are taking a, and you just say me what should be the result of that. I is less than n, I is written, I is multiplied by 2, and we are printing say this. Now the question is how much time this divine will be printed. That is the simple questions you can think about that. So সৃজে তোমার কি মনে হয় এটার কত হবে বলো দেখি, কতবার এই ডিভাইনটা প্রিন্ট হবে মনে হচ্ছে?
n by 2.
n by 2. ওকে, এটা দেখো ক্যালকুলেশন দেখো, প্রত্যেকবার i এর ভ্যালু মাল্টিপ্লাই, তার মানে i যদি ইনিশিয়ালি স্টার্ট হয় 1 থেকে, নেক্সট টাইম i কত হবে? 2 হবে।
2 তারপরে 4,
that means at say kth step that is 2 to the power k. তাহলে the limit is 2 to the power k that is less than n. That means k is less than log 2n.
log 2n.
So the thing is here the
Okay.
complexity is log 2n,
Log
that is
n.
the one of the log n. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because when you are doing binary search, the complexity is log n. Okay, why it
Mm-hmm.
is log n? Because of that reason. Okay, so the
Okay.
thing that okay, so the thing is that when it is multiplied by 2, it may be possible that it is divided by 2 also, then the for loop structure will change something, but I divided by 2, you can say that has a complexity of log n. Now if the it is I is multiplied by 3, then it should have the complexity like a log 3n, like the base 3. So it looks like that. So the thing is that we can easily calculate the complexity like that. If we say a pseudocode is given like that, say integer I j, that is k, and I am writing like that for say I equals to n by 2, say I is less than equals to n, say I plus plus, and then for that is a nested, of course. uh, j is say less than equals to n, or j is equals to 2 multiplied by j, and say that is a for loop where k is equals to n, k is less than equals to n, or k equals to k multiplied by 2, and in that case we are printing say that thing. So that is simple, that is k is multiplied by 2, that means that loop will run up to log 2n times. That is also it will also run log 2n time, and it will start it from n by 2, so it will run from n, so it will run up to n by 2. So if we say what should be the total time, from that we will easily compute that this is nothing but log n by 2 into log 2n. That means you can say n log 2n whole square, you can say like that. So you can compute easily this, by using this, and that can be easily computable. Now the thing is that let's see whether it can be you can tell it or not, that whether what should be the complexity of this. That means if you know we are given that n is equals to 2 is equals to 2 to the power k, and I am writing like that I equals to 1, say I is less than n, and I plus plus, say I am writing j is equals to 2, and while this j is less than is equals to n, say j is equals to j square, and I am printing the corresponding value. So this is, so what should be the complexity of this, what should be the complexity of this, that is 2 is equals to 2 to the power k, 2 is equals to 2 to the power k. So now if this will happen, how much time it will print the bind, if the questions comes like that. So in that particular type of problem, you know you have to observe carefully that what I find, say the value of k is 1. Say if we consider, say the value of k is equals to 1, then n is nothing but 2 square, that is equals to 4, and you know that while loop, this because that will run n times, that is clear, that will run n times, and within the while loop, j is less than equals to 2, so that means 2 is less than equals to 4, and if this condition will be satisfied, then j is equals to j square. So that means j will run only 2 times, j will run, that means the value of j is 2 and then 4, and the value of n is equals to 4, that means j will run 2 times, that means j runs 2 times, one for j value is 2 and one is j value of so the total time for that, the total time, that is nothing but n, that is running the for loop, and multiplied by j will run 2 times. Now if we take the value of k is equals to 1, value of k is equals to 2, then the value of n is equals to 16, because that is 2 to the power 2 to the power k, that means 16, you know the j will be run because j equals to j square. It will be run for 2, 4 and 16. That means you know j will runs 3 times, and the total time that n is multiplied by 3. Now if we take k value is equals to 3, n is equals to nothing but 2 into 2 to the power 3, that means 2 to the power 8. And similarly j will run for 2, 2 square, 2 to the power 4 and 2 to the power 8. That means j runs 4 times. So the total time that will take n multiplied by 4. That means you have to find the relations between k and n. Say when k equals to 2, there is a 3. That means your program will run 3 times. When k equals to 1, that will run 2 times. When k equals to 3, that is multiplied by 4. That means that is nothing but k plus 1 you can write. That means at k 8th time that your program will run n multiplied by k plus 1 time. So if we say that the total number of times, that means total number of times your program will run, that is nothing but n multiplied by k plus 1. And what we know, because in your program it is given that that is 2 to the power 2 to the power k. So if we do it like that, that means log 2n, that is nothing but 2 to the power k, and again we have log it, then that is nothing but log of 2 and log 2n, that is. So you can say that is nothing but log 2 and log 2n plus 1, you know that, and that is nothing but the complexity is order of n log of log n. That is the corresponding complexity. So that is the one of the way by which we can actually measure the complexity. Now the question is that which complexity is better? Which complexity is better than what? So if we just make a you know make a table, then we can think that which complexity is better. That means uh, if we write it from bottom, that means if we can say make a complexity, that means if we write a program by with only a constant complexity, that will be the best thing. And then the thing is that if we write with log of n, that will be second best. If we say root of log n, that will be best. Then there is maybe middle thing is more than that, but I am not considering this. Say n log n, this is n square. Say this is 2 to the power n, like that. If we go like that, the complexity will increase. Say n factorial, say 2 to the power 2n. That means if you design an algorithm with the complexity 2 to the power 2 to the power n, that will be the worst one. Worst one. That means decreasing. When we go, that will decreasing rate of growth. That means if we design with the n square, that means if we design an algorithm with the complexity order of n log n, that would be better than the same program if we write with the complexity order of n square. And if we write a program in n, the log n, root over log n will be better than n. That will be better than n, like that. So that is the complexity series, you can say. That means when we move upward, that means the programs actually will degrading. It's, you can say about that. The main thing that I want to say, that the main thing that you have to remember the concept that if the same program is written with different complexities, the program which is written with less complexity, that is the optimized one. You should remember that particular thing. That means there are some programs which cannot be, you cannot reduce this to order of 1. But The thing is that there are some programs which can be written in different way, and if you can write the same program by less complexity, then that would be the better one that is treated. So the thing is that that is the corresponding, the range of complexities that we think of that. Now I am just asking two questions. Uh, from আমার প্রথমটা অ্যান্সার দেবে সৃজা, that is the questions from a simple, 1D array. That the questions that is from simple 1D array. Now the question is like that. Say an array is given. Okay. Say this is an array. An array is given. Say the array, array contains, all the elements, from 1 to 100 in unordered way. That means, 1 to 100, that means it may be possible that this is 99, this is
মানে সর্টেড না,
শর্টেড নয়, এবং হ্যাঁ অর্ডার শর্টেড নয়, এরকম অর্ডার এরকম ভাবে 1 থেকে 100 প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্ট কিন্তু তোমার অ্যারেতে প্রেজেন্ট আছে। ওকে,
ওকে,
only one has its duplicate value. একটা এলিমেন্ট তার ডুপ্লিকেট ভ্যালু থাকবে। ওকে, তার মানে আমি একটা ছোট এক্সাম্পল নিলে দ্যাট উইল বি বেটার টু আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড। দ্যাট মিন্স ধরো 1 থেকে 5 প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্ট আছে, this is 1 2 3, this is 4, and say এই এলিমেন্টটা, তার মানে এই অ্যারেটার মধ্যে 1 to 5 সব এলিমেন্ট আছে। তোমায় এই দুবার যেটা অকার করেছে এই এলিমেন্টটাকে অর্ডার অফ n এ বার করতে হবে। অর্ডার অফ n এ আমায় এই পার্টিকুলার এলিমেন্টটাকে বার করতে হবে, ডুপ্লিকেট এলিমেন্টটা। কি করে করব? Suggestions are welcome.
আইডিয়ালি তাহলে একটা মানে আই লুপ জে লুপ এন্ড একটা করে এন্ড ইউ কিপ চেকিং দ্যাট, তাহলে n স্কয়ার হবে।
n স্কয়ার তো হবে, সেটা নিয়ে তো আমার বক্তব্য। n স্কয়ার তুমি করেছো ধরো, কিন্তু অর্ডার অফ n এ আমি চাইছি।
মাঝখানে কতটা কেটে গেল?
হ্যাঁ বলছি অর্ডার অফ n এ চাইছি, মানে ইউ হ্যাভ টু ডু ইট। তুমি অর্ডার অফ n স্কয়ারে তো করতে পারবে, বাট দ্য থিং ইজ এই পার্টিকুলার কন্ডিশনস যদি তোমায় দিয়ে দেওয়া হয় তাহলে অর্ডার অফ n এ কি করা যাবে?
মাথায় আসছে না।
ওকে, তাহলে এই প্রবলেমগুলো ট্রিকি প্রবলেম, বাট ইট উইল কাম ইন ডিফারেন্ট এক্সামিনেশন, মানে অনেক প্রবলেম পাবে এইটাকে ইউজ করে করা। এখানে ভালো করে দেখো যে what the conditions I given to you, that 1 to 100 each and every elements are present. Okay, so if and every element are present, then we can compute the sum of natural numbers, that is n into n plus 1 by 2, that you can compute in order of 1, because that is nothing but a formula. Okay, because 1 to 100
then minus করে,
yes,
then minus
করলে
sum of array n loop মানে order of n এর loop করে and then minus করে।
yes, আমি যদি এক্সাম্পলটা নিই তাহলে 1 to 5, তার মানে there are 5 elements, তার মানে it is 5 plus 1 by 2, that means this is a 15, and you are just doing the just simple for loop, where you just calculating the say sum1 is equals to sum1 plus ai, and that means if this is an array a, so you are just computing the sum, তুমি add করো 5 6 7 8 9 10 10 11 11 15 and 15 plus 3, that is 18. That means if we run this for loop, the value is nothing but 18. Now you just subtract this sum1 minus sum, that will give you the element itself. That can be done in order of n. বোঝা গেছে ব্যাপারটা বাকিরা?
হ্যাঁ,
ওকে, তাহলে এটা যদি বোঝা যায় তাহলে নেক্সট কোশ্চেনের অ্যানসারটা দাও। নেক্সট কোশ্চেনের অ্যান্সারটা হচ্ছে আমি আবার একটা অ্যারে নিয়েছি, সিম্পল ওয়ান ডাইমেনশনাল অ্যারে নিয়ে নিয়েছি। ধরো এই অ্যারেতে প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্ট হ্যাজ ইটস ডুপ্লিকেট ভ্যালু। ইচ এলিমেন্ট each element has its duplicate value except one. That means একটা ছাড়া বাকি সব, মানে এখানে কিন্তু কোনো রেস্ট্রিকশনস নেই,
এটা তো হয়েই গেল।
হয়ে গেল মানে এটা যদি 200 ও হতে পারে।
হ্যাঁ, এটাতে তো স্যার ওই মানে দেওয়া নেই যে কত থেকে কতটা থাকবে
না, এখানে কিছু দেওয়া নেই, এখানে যা কিছু রেঞ্জ হতে পারে 100, 100, মাইনাস, নেগেটিভ, পজিটিভ, এনিথিং। বাট দ্য থিং ইজ দ্যাট প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্টের তার ডুপ্লিকেট ভ্যালু আছে এক্সেপ্ট ওয়ান। একটা এলিমেন্ট বাকি সব কটা যা এলিমেন্ট থাকুক না কেন তার ডুপ্লিকেট ভ্যালু আছে, এন্ড দেয়ার ইজ নো রেঞ্জ ইজ গিভেন। নাম্বার যে কোনো কিছু হতে পারে। তাহলে এটা কি করে করব বলো দেখি? অর্ডার অফ n। অফ কোর্স ইউ হ্যাভ টু ফাইন্ড ইট ইন অর্ডার অফ n। That how can we find this particular element which has not its duplicate value in order of n?
সাম করে আমি যদি ডিভাইড বাই 2 করে যে রিমাইন্ডারটা বাকি থাকবে,
আচ্ছা সাম করো, ধরো 200, 400, 400, 5. Okay, then that is the sum.
in this case divide by 2 রিমাইন্ডারটা will be 1, but I don't know সব কেসে সেটা হবে কিনা।
না, সব কেসে কিন্তু হবে না, সব কেসে কিন্তু হবে না। ধরো আমি 2, 3 নিলাম, and 5 নিলাম, then 2 নিলাম, 3 নিলাম, এরকম একটা অ্যারেও আমি নিতে পারি।
এটাতেও হয়ে যাচ্ছে না, 5 আসছে।
এটাতে আসছে, মানে আমি বললাম একটা এক্সাম্পল দিলাম, তুমি সেটাকে ইচ্ছে করে চেঞ্জ করে নিতে পারো, মানে তুমি এটাকে 4 করে দাও না, এটাকে 4 করে দাও, কত আসছে তাহলে? আর এটাকে ধরো 6 করে দাও। Any suggestion? এখানে দেখো একটা বিউটিফুল অপারেশন আছে, that is the operation of XOR. What I am doing, just see, that is a 2. So what is the binary equivalent of 2? Binary equivalent of 2 is nothing but 0, 1, that is 0. What is the binary equivalent of 4? That the binary equivalent of 4 is 1, 0, 0. We are doing XOR operations. That means we know XOR operations means the output is A bar B plus A B bar. That means if there are same bits, then it is 0. If there are different bit, that is 1. Since 0, 0 is the same bit, that will give you 0. 0, 1 is a different bit, and that is also different bit. Again, this 2 and 4 is gone. 6. What the value of 6? 6 means 1, 1, 0. Again, we are doing XOR operations. We just see 0, 0, and 0. Then this is a 2. 2 means 0, 1, 0. That is 0. That is 1. That is 0. And that next is 4. What do you mean by 4? That means it is nothing but 1, 0, 0. So this is 0. This is 1. This is 1. And what is the value of this? This is 6. We just count it. 1, 1, 0 is nothing but 6. That means that is the beautiful property of XOR. That means if an array has its duplicate value except one, that means all duplicate value are cancelled out. All duplicate values are cancelled out. Only the remaining one will be left. দেখো এই জিনিসটা কি বললাম বুঝতে পারলে কিনা? আমি যদি সিম্পল XOR অপারেশনস করি প্রত্যেকটাকে নিয়ে, তাহলে যে রেজাল্টটা আসবে সেই রেজাল্টটা যেটা দেবে দ্যাট ইজ নাথিং বাট যেটা ডুপ্লিকেট নয় সেই ভ্যালুটা। বোঝা গেছে না বোঝা যায়নি?
আচ্ছা বুঝতে পারছি।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ওকে, তার মানে আমি যদি XOR অপারেশনস করি, সিম্পলি XOR করি প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্টকে নিয়ে, তাহলে যে ভ্যালুটা পড়ে থাকে সেই ভ্যালুটাই এই সিম্পল যেটা ডুপ্লিকেট নয় সেই এলিমেন্টের ভ্যালুটাই পড়ে থাকে। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য থিং ইউ ক্যান, তুমি এটা ভাবতে পারো। এই জিনিসটাই আমাদের ওয়ান অফ দ্য টু ইম্পর্টেন্ট থিং যেটাকে আমরা অনেক কাজেই লাগাতে পারবো, and that is the thing that you should remember. Now I am giving an exercise to you. The thing is that if we consider a matrix like that, that means if this is a 1, there is a spiral matrix, that means this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. I am moving like that. 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, this is 10, this is 11, that is 12, that is 13, that is 14, that is 15, that is 16, that is 17, that is 18, that is 19, that is 20, 21, that is 22, 23, 24, 25. We are moving like that. We are, we are, that is a pattern is fixed. That means we are moving like that. Now if we consider only the diagonal elements, if we consider these diagonal elements, and if we consider this particular diagonal elements, what we find, if we add it, the result is 101. That is for 5 cross 5 spiral matrix. This is a 5 cross 5. Now my question is, and what for 10 cross 10, or if 9 cross 9? If the input is given like that, then what should be the output? That means what is the sum of the diagonals? And for that, of course, I am giving you the hints. That means you need not to print this matrix. You need not to print this matrix because that is unnecessary. The thing is, you have to look over the elements of the diagonal. That means if we say this diagonal, the elements is 17, 5, that is 1, this is 9, this is 25, and if we look over this diagonal, that is 3, 13. So you have to just see the diagonal element and find the relationship between them. Find the relationship, because you will find that is a square term, that is also square term, that will happening. So that means that will happening for any cases. So that is the questions, that if I give that input as 10 cross 10 or 9 cross 9, your program will give you the output as a sum of the diagonals. That means you need not to print the matrix. You have to find the relationship between the elements of the matrix. And if you can just think of that, you just think about the data, that is the element of the matrix. You need not to think that is a two-dimensional matrix, I have to print that. Don't do that, because you don't need two-dimensional. You have to just concentrate on the elements, and then you have to find the find a relationship. তোমরা সিরিজের অঙ্ক করেছো, যেমন সিরিজের অঙ্কের মধ্যে আমরা একটা প্যাটার্ন বার করতে হতো প্রত্যেকটা এলিমেন্টস এর মধ্যে, এখানেও হয়তো দেখা যাবে সাম অফ দ্য ডায়াগোনালস it can be written by some equation. That may be, I am just giving you the example hints, that a sum of the diagonals, you have to find that type of equations. That is nothing but, you can say, the relations between the elements of the diagonal. If you can find that, then of course you can find the answer. And I expect that within Thursday that will be completed. We will meet again on Thursday, and within which please try it and please go through this, because